last speaker of the session, Dr. Waqas Nawaz, who is assistant professor of gastroenterology in Ohio State University. And most of you may already know him, as he is a founder of the King Edward Assembly Forum, and he has guided hundreds of applicants, and he's a very good writer and advocates about many social issues. And we will transition to him. Dr. Waqas, see you here.
Thank you very much, Tamur, and thank you very much, Apna Young Physician Committee, for inviting me to speak tonight on these topics. And Asad and Abdul Rahman and Shahram really have spoken very well, especially social media role, and Shahram has spoken very well about questions which people ask about during the interview and at the end of the interview. Before I start my topic, I want to express my condolence. I feel very grieved, very heartbroken at the sudden demise of Dr. Nadeem Guraya, who was a GYN professor at Sialkot Medical College, and he was a GYN assistant professor when we were finally medical students at King Edward. So he was a very loved one and among his peers, his students. So may Allah grant him Jannah and raise his level. So my topic is somewhere between the social media connections when students start making connections and interviews when finally they appear for the interview. So I'm going to talk about personal statement and ERAS. So I have some slides I would like to share, and I may take like for 30 to 40 minutes because I saw a lot of questions about OET relationship between ERAS and ECFMG because of the current pathway system. I have written a lot about these pathways. I have been working on these, so I think I may answer some questions, if not all. So let me share my slides. Tamur, I want to share my slides.
Sure.
So let's see.
You should be able to.
I will be able to. Okay. Let me know when you can see my slides.
I can.
Everyone can see. Okay. Let me just. Okay, so I'm going to talk about ERAS CV and personal statement. I will be brief about ERAS CV, and I will be in detail for personal statement. Tamur has introduced me. I have newly joined Ohio State University as gastroenterology assistant professor, and I'm a graduate otherwise from Montefiore Medical Center, New York. And I am one of the admins of King Edward Assembly Forum, and we have been working for the last 6-7 years, career counseling and guiding the students through the match ERAS process. So ERAS CV is a very important part of your whole application, because this is where your interview actually starts from. So when you are physically sitting or virtually sitting, now speaking about the COVID season, you might be virtually sitting. Most of the time interview starts whatever you have written from ERAS CV. It is a pre-filled template given by ECFMG, so it is pretty easy to write as compared to personal statement. I would just go by the template, and I have shared my personal ERAS CV actually on certain forums with some warning that it's just for the purpose of guiding the students how to write. There is a big misunderstanding about address. So people think that if they put US address, they get more interviews. Or if they put New York City address, they get more interviews from New York City. This was the perception even when we were applicant. But over the period of time, I have noticed that this is not at all clinically or statistically significant. It does not matter. What matters, please give an address where you can receive mail in case ECFMG wants to send you something. Ideally in America, but even if it is Pakistan, that is not going to de-rank you, devalue you, or decrease your interviews. I have spoken with certain program directors. I have spoken with chief residents. This is not the factor they have ever considered. Work experience. ERAS has specific corner for work experience. Mention the name of the hospital and name of the mentor you work under. In personal statement, you only mention the name of hospital. You do not mention the name of the mentor. Capacity of the hospital is very important. If you have been working as a house officer in Mayo Hospital, you should be mentioning it's an 800 bed hospital, tertiary care level hospital, serving this much area or area of this much population. If you are working in a community hospital as an observer or an externee, small community hospital of America, you should know the capacity and the level. If it is a tertiary, if it is a primary care setup, you should mention that in your work experience. This is important because this gives an insight to the resident selection committee how much you have got from the American health system, how much you have learned from the American health system. Description about your role is very important because at certain point you will be an observer, other points you will be an elective, as an electee, and the third point you may be just working as an external. So you should know, you should mention what you were doing. You were taking history, you were doing physical exams, you were just shadowing some mentor. This is a part of your work experience because this again gives an idea how much you have understood the system. So this is about work experience. I saw someone mention a question about research experience, if they should mention separately if they have done more than one research. Answer is yes. Because it is possible that you have done two researches with two different mentors in two different setups. So mention it separately. Med school awards. What that means? Very distinctive awards. For example, if you have a distinction in some subject in your medical school, mention it. If you have some presidential award in your country, mention it. But please do not mention trivial things. First division pass in all professional exams. I would avoid that because most of the people who are applying, I'm assuming they will be first division pass in their professional exam. So people know that first division is not something distinctive award. So I would be a little careful here. Research only mention if you're actually doing it at this time or if you have done with some publication in the past. Please do not fake it. Please do not fake it when I say, because you may produce a fake letter and you may mention research experience, but as I said, ERAS CV determines your interview, how it's going to go through. So sometimes they take your ERAS CV in their hands or on their table and they ask you about the research components. If you have not done a research ever, you would not know the research components ever. And it will look fake, they will never tell you, but it will devalue you. Volunteer experience, very highly recommended. If you have done work in sub-floods, if you have worked somewhere for blood donation societies, please do mention, especially in this current era. So Asad mentioned that I would mention some differences of ERAS CV with respect to this COVID. So the biggest difference I would mention, if you have ever worked in the lockdown season when you were locked down, whether in America or in Pakistan, and if you ever worked for, or if you ever had written anything, if you ever had done any campaign for COVID awareness, for public health, please mention it. Please mention it. It does matter. Hobbies. Sometimes we think that this is a very trivial part and it's not going to make a difference. Actually, one of my interviews, I still remember, it started with my hobbies, whatever you have written in your hobby. And I noted that very eloquently. Abdul Rahman mentioned that the background matters, and sometimes you have books in the background and you have a painting in the background, and they can just start like that. So be very realistic. Mention a hobby which you actually have it. Be very expressive about your hobby. Be able to handle the subsequent questions, because it is very possible your whole interview is going to go along that road after your hobby. For example, if you're saying you like to write, they might ask, what kind of writing have you written? What do you write? What language you write? I like to paint. Okay, what is this painting about? What kind of paintings you do? What colors you use? Okay, be expressive, be real, and be yourself. But hobbies is a very important part of ERAS CV because it is something which is not on your transcripts, not on your result cards of USMLE scores and all, but it reflects something about your personality overall. Honorary professional societies, mention if you're a member either in Pakistan or USA. Don't, again, as I said, these are common things. If you make a blunder here, they only rule you out. Mentioning them does not make you very prominent, but if you make a mistake, you are ruled out. So mention if you're a member of some society, and if you are not, just do not mention. Other accomplishments. Mention any extra courses that you have ever done. For example, when I was doing house job in my hospital, we did a workshop, 2-day workshop for WHO Professional Language and Communication Skills workshop. I mentioned that one interview, they asked me about it. Blood donation drives, if you ever worked for them. Can be any workshop, as I mentioned. Can be any career counseling of the student. For example, if some speakers or some panelists who, if one of them is an applicant and they are a part of this today's talk, they can actually bring that up. In my GI fellowship interviews and after my GI fellowship, when I completed, I was applying for job. Many places I was asked about career counseling because I mentioned about King Edward USMLE Forum. At one place, actually, they opened the link of King Edward USMLE Forum. So it can happen. Again, be realistic. Don't fake it. If you have done something, please express it. If you have done it, please say it. Same thing, can any campaign, if you have been a part of a campaign related to any communicable disease, awareness campaign, prevention of COVID, polio vaccine, hepatitis B, screening for colon cancer, screening for breast cancer. This is a breast cancer month, October. So again, these things matter. Why I have put them in my slides? Because it matters. So this was very brief about ERAS, because ERAS is very systematic. It is templated. You have to just fill the template. Be very realistic, expressive, professional. This is a general rule that do not make spelling mistakes, do not make grammar mistakes, which I'm going to talk about in personal statement. Same rule applies to ERAS. I have put a sample ERAS CV on King Edward Forum, and I also have put a sample personal statement. So let's talk about the second component, do's and don'ts of a personal statement. This is an article I wrote like 1 year ago, and then I updated it. That what is a personal statement and what are its important components. So remember, when you apply for any interview in any program, you go later. Your personal statement appears first. So this is the first introduction of yours to the program committee, to the program director, to the program coordinator, and the chief resident. So this is really very important. It is as important as you go for an interview. It should be as eloquent, it should be as sober, it should be as professional as you should be during your interview or on your interview day. It comprises of 5 paragraphs. Everyone has its own style. What I am saying is my style, and when I say my style, we have discussed among our other admins of King Edward USMLE Forum, and most of us, they agree on this configuration which I'm going to discuss here. Farooq Abbas, Farhan Ahmed, Ali John, they're all big names in career counseling, and Aftab Ahmed. So they're all admins of King Edward Forum. First paragraph, each paragraph should be only of 4 to 5 lines. First paragraph discusses why you want to be a doctor. Be genuine, be realistic, avoid emotional stories. I know most of the personal statements, I have reviewed a lot of personal statements. Now, these days I'm not doing that, but I used to do that in previous matches. Because of the time restraint, I'm not able to do this time. I have seen one common thing, a lot of emotional stories about mother's disease, sister disease, father's disease, personal disease, and a lot of emotional component more than the actual fact. I'm not saying if it is very possible that you may have that might be the main stimulus for you to join medicine, and that is totally fine because it comes under the part of be realistic and be genuine. If it is your stimulus, let it be. But please do not be emotional. Please do not be sensational. Be very brief and comprehensive. If someone in your family has a cancer, If someone has developed a liver failure from cirrhosis, chronic liver disease, and that is the main reason, okay, mention it. But first of all, never disclose the labs, never disclose the imaging. You can name the disease, you can name the name means name of the relation like father, mother, but not the person himself. Never mention the name of the hospital where he was admitted. Never mention the lab values. I have seen that these things, that's why I'm mentioning. Avoid emotional stories, avoid complex literature. I have seen people using very complicated language, very high level of English language. I always ask them one question. When you take history from your patient, do you use this language? You do not. You simple speak in English language, simple English language, HPI, his chief complaint. The same language you should be using in your personal statement. You are not appearing for an interview of a master's in English literature. You are actually going for an internship, residence. So be very simple. Don't use difficult, complex idioms. I do not support that. Before you write this paragraph, ask yourself why you want to be a doctor. Many times, actually, while going through these interviews, I agree with Abdul Rahman and Sharan that many times actually you start knowing yourself when you actually prepare for your interviews, because these kind of questions you have never asked yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Which component you find very difficult? Where you feel relaxed? Why you want to be a doctor? So ask yourself why you became a doctor. There might be many things. It might be a background, simple, mention it. It might be simply that your father is a doctor, and that's totally fine. It might be the factor that you saw some doctor's drama serial, like what is it called, Grey's Anatomy, and you got inspired by seeing the residency system in Grey's Anatomy, and that is totally fine because that comes under the heading be genuine and be realistic. So the last two lines of this paragraph would end as few lines about your medical college. So when you write a personal statement, you mention the reasons why you are here, and at the same time you start telling the residency selection committee that how you started your journey. So you can say that with these intentions, with these emotions, or with these ambitions, I finally joined King Edward Medical College, one of the prestigious institute of the country, and I entered the medical career. So few lines about your medical college should be here. Second paragraph. Now you already have told the committee why you want to be a doctor. Now you should tell them if you are going for internal medicine. I'm assuming when I'm presenting this personal statement, I'm talking about more internal medicine because that is my field. Why you want to join medicine? Again, you can mention the systematic algorithms involved that inspire your inquisitive nature. That is one example. That you like this thing about the medicine, that you start from the symptom and you reach the diagnosis in a very systematic way. You like ruling in diseases and ruling out diseases. You can mention the scope of doing multiple subspecialties after you do your general medicine. That is very logical and understandable reason. Because after you do an internal medicine residency, you have a broad field of subspecialties. You can be a cardiologist, rheumatologist, endocrinologist, gastroenterologist, whatever you want to. Mention about your ward rotation and house job experience. So again, as I mentioned in my first paragraph, after explaining the reason, I always would like to mention 2 lines, 3 lines about my actual journey. So now you tell that you like medicine for certain reasons, and when you went to your clinical wards, 3rd year, 4th year, final year, or if you did a house job, you notice and these things. You mentioned that you noticed chronic liver disease was very common, and you work in gastroenterology ward, and you saw that there's a deficiency. There's a deficiency of advanced training in this field, and that actually persuaded you to join this field, general medicine, and subsequently gastroenterology or cardiology, whatever you feel like. Can mention the name of disease that really inspired you to join medicine. Avoid talking about labs, imaging, and fine case details. So this personal statement is not an interview. It's not a clinical case during an interview. Sometimes during an interview, they ask you, please tell us an interesting case. This is here they are not asking you an interesting case. So be very non-specific, but at the same time, please mention about your experience, your further journey. So now in 2 paragraphs, you have told them why you became a doctor and why you joined medicine. Third part. So third paragraph, why to join US health system. This is very important paragraph, extremely important paragraph, because now you start telling the team why actually you want to be in USA. You have to be very diplomatic. You have to be very humble. You do not have to say bad words for your own country, for your own health system, where you graduated from. This would be taken as thankless. Talk about the evidence-based medicine and extensive research and the state-of-the-art investigation and algorithms which are available in the United States. That would show that how enthusiastic and ambitious you are, that after getting the basic training at your home, you know that there's certain deficiency there and you want to fulfill that deficiency, and that is the reason you want to join the US health system. Because by far, US health system is one of the best health systems in the United States, in the whole world, as far as we talk about the resources and the investigation and the evidence-based medicine. Mention your thirst for advanced training. You don't have to mention, it will actually show, or you can mention that you found that you still need to get the state-of-the-art training, and that is why you start thinking about advanced training getting in USA. Mention about the electives, observership, and that you have done. So again, every paragraph has some story of your journey. So in here, I would mention those electives, your observerships, whatever you have done coming in USA, you have to mention here. Never mention the name of the mentor. In my ERAS talk, I told you to mention the name of the mentor and name of the hospital. Here, you only have to mention the name of the hospital. You do not have to mention the name of the mentor. You can mention the name of the department like cardiology or internal medicine, that's fine. But what they are actually interested, they want to see what system you work at. You work at a private clinic, you work at a university hospital, you work in a community hospital. Never backbite about your parent health system. Talk in a way that reflects positive attitude of your personality. For example, if I have to talk that there are certain the resources in Pakistan are not advanced, and the people are not very educated, and the patients are not very educated, I would not say that. I would not say that there are not advanced training in Pakistan, there is no healthcare system in Pakistan, people are illiterate, they are hard to manage. I would not say that. I would say that there are certain deficiencies in certain fields, and because of that, we have focused more on our history-taking skills and physical methods, because sometimes we lack the advanced investigation and we have to use our physical methods to diagnose a disease. Similarly, the people in Pakistan might not be as aware about the health as people in other parts of the world or in USA, and that has skilled me, that has trained me to deal with difficult patient populations sometimes. This is the same thing I said, but in a different way. I did not look negative. I looked more like that I'm trying to find something positive in deficient resource area. And I'm saying that difficult patient can be part of your training and you have to deal with them. This would look really good, because, and then you can say that after getting my clinical, after being skilled in my history-taking skills and physical methods, if I get advanced training, if I learn evidence medicine of USA, I can be a very good package combining the two health system skills, because people in America, they are not very skillful in history-taking and exams because they rely more on investigations and labs. But you can be a better combination of these two things, and you can be a very helpful resource for your program. Fourth paragraph, why this program and what will you bring to us? You have to tell why this particular program where you are sending an application. Remember, The residence committee team always knows that this person's statement is not specifically for their program. They know that you have applied 50 programs and everywhere you are telling why you. So don't be very specific for the program, but I would recommend making two personal statements, one for a university kind program, one for a community kind program. This why I will explain in my fifth paragraph. But here, mention your strengths that you can bring to the program. What could that be? Ability to adopt, a teamwork. These are the realistic approach. You can't say that you will come and change everything and you will change the whole system. You cannot, because you will be just a first year intern who will not know how to even sometimes log in the AVIC. So you have to say, I have some ability that I adopt. If I go to a New York busy program, I adopt. If I go to an Oklahoma University big program, I adopt. So adaptation is a big, flexibility is a big positive. Teamwork, same thing, that wherever you are put in the night team, you are happy, you are put in as a day team, you are happy, you are put in as emergency situation, you are happy. You like to work as a team. Mention your strong clinical exam skills that you learned. I have mentioned this point that this could be another positive you would bring to the program. So you can mention that actually in fourth paragraph, that after working in Pakistan for this much time and now after doing MLE exams and working as a external or observer in US, you think that you can be a combination of a very good clinical history skill, physical methods, as well as very good algorithms and evidence-based medicine. This is a unique part of IMGs. Let me tell you, IMGs are very good at this. They are always appreciated in the residencies and fellowship for their memory they have. They are called walking books because they remember so complicated formulas, so complicated scores, which many other people might use calculators or MedCalc for. So try to give some credit to you as well. But at the same time, never pose yourself as a superhero. Mention the strengths which look real and normal and realistic. Mention your expectations from the program at the same time. So it's not only that you have to tell the program what would you be bringing for them. You actually have to show some expectation from them as well, because they are teaching you, they are training you, and you have to choose what is best for you as well. So you have to be very diplomatic and humble at the same time, very realistic, that you are looking for a program which can train you, which can make you able to deal with excessive loads of patients, which can groom you professionally, and which can prepare you for your future goals. If you know that, what are your future goals? And let me tell you, 50% of the residents, they do not know until third year what they're going to be, and that is totally fine. Programs know that this person's statement is not very specific, and it is okay. Last paragraph. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? As I mentioned, make two personal statements, one for university, one for community. Be realistic about your future. If you do not know what you're going to be, you say, I do not know. I will, during my residency, I will see where I feel inclined towards, and then I will work on my ambition. Be open and accommodative about available future options. If you are applying in a community program, try to mention more about hospitalist medicine, because most of them do not have fellowships, but most of them, their graduates go for hospitalists, which is a very evolving field. I have done a 1 hour session on a YouTube program about hospitalist medicine. If people who are interested who want to see what that is, they can see. If you are not sure, that is totally fine. This is the most accurate and realistic approach. So if you're applying in a university program and you know that they have certain fellowship and you know that you are interested, go ahead, mention that you see yourself in a gastroenterology or cardiology field 5 years from now, and you will work your way to these goals through the residency years. If you do not know, you say, I will focus on my internship expectations and my residency job first, and we'll see where I develop my inclination. If you want to be hospitalist, mention about hospitals. Nevers of a personal statement. These are the red flags which you should never do in a personal statement. Never copy a personal statement. That's plagiarism. Imagine you are sitting in an interview and one candidate ahead of you goes inside and he's asked a question about, tell me a clinical, interesting medical case. He tells a story of a snake bite. He comes out, you go in. You are asked, tell us interesting clinical case. And you say snake bite. Same snake, same bite, same country, same health system, same outcome. What would it look like? That you spoke and you faked. Either you faked or the person ahead of you, he faked. Same applies to personal statement. Remember, all IMGs, they apply same programs. All the IMGs, they follow program lists published by King Edward Assembly Forum or APNA or YPC or many good forums working for you guys. They put some list, all the people follow the list, all the people go to the same program. If they copy a personal statement, everyone will be telling a snake bite. Everyone will be damaging each other. Please do not do it. When we put our own personal statement, we put it just to give you an idea. Copy the configuration, not the composition. Copy the configuration, the style, not the words. I initially removed the personal statement, but again, I understand the limitation of our candidates. They are not very expressive. They are reluctant talking about themselves. And it has a background because our parent health system is different from here. I don't want them to suffer. But at the same time, if you overcopy, if you copy word by word, please, that is going to be a damage. So you have to find a balance. This is called configuration, which I'm talking today. 5 paragraphs, first paragraph about this question, second paragraph about this question, last paragraph about this question. So just ask these questions to yourself. Why you want to be a doctor? Why you want to be medicine? Why you want to be coming USA? All these things. Please do not copy. Never say bad about your parent health system or something that shows you are running out of your circumstances. I have explained this point. Never mention any patient identity. Never ever name a patient. Never ever try to mention the labs of the patient in your personal statement. This is not a clinical case. Never mention research, a reason to join a program if there is no research in that particular program. Imagine you are applying in a small community program, let's say Bassett Medical Center in Cooperstown, New York. It's a very tiny program. And you are saying you are joining this program because you are very much interested in research, because that would show you haven't explored about the program. You don't know the program. You are just mass emailing or mass, personal stating. Never pose yourself as a superhero. Know your limitations. Believe me, first 6 months of the residency, you would not know how to even, many times you would not know how to even log in the computers. Try not to be over emotional or dramatic. I have explained these points. Never send a personal statement out without a proofread. Very important point. This is understood. This should be now understood by now. No grammar mistake, no spelling mistake, no punctuation mistake. There are so many softwares online available. You can just put and get it proofread. Please do not do a spelling mistake. Please do not do a grammar mistake. This looks bad. It looks bad because this is their language, and if we make these mistakes, it looks very casual, like we are not very casual about applying. When at the same time we are writing in our personal statement, I'm very enthusiastic to join this program, and I'm very professional, when you are actually not, because you are making these kind of mistakes. One line about breast cancer screening, I would like, whatever you read in your USMLE exam is not just to pass USMLE exams. Please discuss with your families, mothers, aunts. This is a breast cancer screening month. Please get everyone screened. Please, please, please. Pakistan is #1 in breast cancer in Asia. 40,000 females die every year. 90,000 get breast cancer every year. I have written an article about it in Urdu language. You can share with your families. It's common information. Last thing, believe in Almighty. Whatever you are doing, just believe that you're going to do fine. Because if you believe, you receive. I always write this statement in the end of my all the guiding sessions and all the articles, because America is not for everyone. I have seen so many people who have not ended up here. I have seen people crying at my shoulder when they actually got rejected, and now they are doing fine. They are really doing fine. So please know, especially now next 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about COVID, and current ERAS season is going to be very different. I saw so many questions were referred to me, so I'm going to take care of that part. But again, please, America is not the end of the story. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the life. It's not for everyone. And we have colleagues in Australia. We have colleagues in Pakistan doing very well. Very good FCPS physicians. Always have your backups. Backups, backups, backups. So I'm going to talk about ERAS and OET and ECFMG. Next week, excuse me. Next week we're gonna have I think ERAS application day, I guess. It's next week, I guess. Let me tell you, it has nothing to do with your ECFMG eligibility. ECFMG is a separate thing. ERAS is a separate thing. ECFMG, I know in the past you have to be ECFMG certified, and that is one of the filters, but that was only in those days when CS was a criteria to be ECFMG certified. This is not applicable now. I'm in communication with few program directors. I'm gonna do a program next week in detail when I receive final statements from them, because many people have asked me, because of the COVID, they have not done rotations. They have not done step 3. They have not done observerships, and they think that they are not good candidates, and they are thinking to quit, although they have 250 plus. I do not support it. I recommend to apply, because all the program directors are well aware about these unusual circumstances. They are well aware that you were not able to get visas, you were not able to get appointments for step 3, your CS was delayed, no program is giving observership. I have not able to place any student in any observership program for the last 6 months, which before I was very easily getting responses and putting students there. So ERAS, ECFMG eligibility has to be decided by December 31st. There are 2 pathways, pathway 1, pathway 2. Pathway 1 is basically for those people who have a license or who have had a license after 2015. What that means, they have done a house job. And there are certain people who don't qualify for pathway 1, they qualify for pathway 2. We did communication with ECFMG. Initially, they said OET exam, OSCE exam after July 2018. After repeated conversations with APNA, King Edward Forum, and many other societies, Aga Khan alumni, finally they were kind enough to take that date to 1st January 2018. That means 1 more session. I have been asked this question repeatedly, that if I had took my professional exam in December 2017, but I got my result 2018, where I fall. Remember your year of graduation. Doesn't matter where your exams happen. Whatever is written on your diploma date, or which is called YOG, year of graduation, that is your date. If it is March 2018, you qualify for OSCE and you qualify for pathway 2. Pathway 1, a lot of questions have been raised about PMDC role. I was in communication with PMDC people. We were working to get quicker, good standing letters for the students, but unfortunately PMDC dissolved. PMC has been formed. ECFMG has mentioned 3 ways. The best way, they said, PMDC should upload One of the two. Remember, it's not two, one of the two. Either a good standing certificate or your PMDC registration or license copy. One of the two. PMDC is never as professional as we think. I'm not going to talk about that. Second, they said students should, PMDC should send it to the student should upload, which is again not possible if PMDC is not responsive. But there is a third way, and I'm gonna, through this forum and in my next week talk, I'm gonna promote the third way. What is that? If you have your PMDC registration at your home, please upload it, and that's it. In that scenario, ECFMG will start your verification themselves from PMDC or PMC, whatever it's now PMC. It would be on ECFMG, not on you. It's not going to delay you. It's not going to delay you because you are applying whatever you have been offered, whatever you have been allowed. You have been allowed, you are going for it. Go for it, apply yourself. Upload your PMDC license yourself, email ECFMG that you have done this, let it be on them. It has nothing to do with 15th October because this time you are not going to be filtered because of ECFMG certification. This is because programs know that ECFMG certification is not going to be decided until December 31st. You apply as you usually apply. You start getting interviews as you usually start getting interviews. OET exam, again, the deadline for OET exam is December 31st. You have to give them results before December 31st. So OET exam has nothing to do with ERAS application on 15th or 20th October, whatever date it is. I am not very certain about that. But OET exam has nothing to do with it. So if you have done step 1, step 2, you have good scores. Just because you do not have a USCE, do not waste your year. Go for it. Give it a shot. Apply it. Let it be. Let's see what the fate, destiny takes its fate, because it is, you never know what program directors are gonna think. As I said, I'm in communication with them and I'm getting a good response because they all are very considerate. They know what is going on. So this is not gonna be a limiting factor for you guys. Forget when the ECFMG will come. If you think you are eligible, very clearly, if you're a graduate of 2018 and 19, you are eligible pathway 2. If you ever had a license in the past or you currently hold a license, means you have done a house job, you are pathway 1. That's it, you are eligible. Go for OET exam earliest and let the result be transcribed to ECFMG before 31st December. Let me tell you one more thing. For pathway 2, there is an OSCE attestation form. The last date of OSCE attestation form is not even 31st December. It's actually 31st January 2021. What that means, your eligibility might not be decided even until January 2021. So it has nothing to do with your interviews. Your programs will be told once you are found eligible, and that is fine. If you are not found eligible, they know that. That is why they have put a $900 fees, so that you do not apply if you are not eligible. Only those people would apply who think they are eligible. Who will like to waste $900 when they know that they are a graduate of 2014 or they don't have a house job, or although we worked very hard to communicate with ECFMG or PMDC to allow those people who do not have a house job to have a permanent license just for the purpose of application, not to practice in Pakistan, but I was not able to get it done, unfortunately, due to so many barriers, due to so many unprofessional people, due to so many politics. So just not go there. Okay, so I think I answered these questions. That OET and ECFMG eligibility has nothing to do with ERAS. Whatever today our panelists are talking about is ERAS. About ECFMG eligibility, I have done a program 3 weeks ago. It is available. You can check that. I have written a long article about that. You can find that. And we're going to do one more session in future. But this has nothing to do with your ECFMG eligibility. That is not going to be decided. Let me tell you one more technical point. Programs have been told by ECFMG that they would be notified about your eligibility before the ranking day. Ranking date is when? Around somewhere in February. So that only then they will be told. So what that means, there is no filter this year whether someone is ECFMG certified or not certified. I have been asked one question in the past. If you are ECFMG certified and you are not matched this year, would this certification work next year? The answer is no. This is only for 1 year match. I have been asked a question, if you are ECFMG certified through these pathways, you get matched, would this be ECFMG considered your MD degree? Answer is yes, because MD means you are ECFMG certified. Technically, MD is one who does CS. If you are ECFMG certified and you get matched, you are actually MD. I have been asked this question that next year, if someone is not applying 2021 match, rather applying 22 match, will they be exempted from CS? The answer is I don't know, because I don't know what would be the CS structure next year. I don't know if CS would be replaced by something new again. This was such a chaotic year this year. ECFMG themselves don't know what to do. They were going back and forth. Let me tell you one more thing. Pakistan is the only country whose colleges have been allowed to go through pathway 2. If you go to pathways website and you go to the list of colleges, all the 24 colleges mentioned in the list are Pakistan. There is no other country. What that means, they really acknowledged our communications with them. I personally wrote a long letter explaining the OSCE structure of Pakistan, what OSCE is in Pakistan, how they do it, how it is credible, why it is better than CS, and they appreciated that. Apna has been working very hard for Apna. Dr. Fateh and me, we were working together actually. Fateh worked very hard, Apna worked very hard, Dr. Osmani, everyone worked very hard to get you guys certified through Pathway 2 and get all Pakistan colleges acknowledged on OSCE 2, on Pathway 2 via OSCE. So you should be knowing what is going behind the scene, what so many faces are working for you guys when they don't know, when they don't have any secondary gain from you. They are all set in their lives. They have attained or accomplished what they want to. So I would just stop here because this was a long talk. We can take questions, and thank you, Tamur. Back to you. I think I tried to answer what I saw in the chat box.
Thank you, Waqas bhai. So we have some questions in the chat box. I think you respond to some of them. We can go, if you have a few more minutes, I think we can go over some more. So if one has, it's Dr. Ahmad is saying, if one has very, very strong background of research and publication, can it affect negatively for community programs applications? How do we justify in personal statement and interview that one want to join clinical side rather than the research side?
It never gets you a negative point, honestly speaking. Even community programs would like to have you. I belong to a community program, and I know my program director loved those candidates who have research because she wanted to promote the research culture. In last 7 years, she did actually, and that improved the graduates going into the good fellowship program. So it's always going to be a benefit.
Yeah, definitely. And they're saying the other questions, let me see. Any comment on using headphones, Bluetooth, computer speakers, and microphone? What would you recommend? You know, I think we talked about it, but I think we should not use a phone, in my personal opinion. You can use a laptop, you can use a desktop, but you're going to be doing an interview for like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. How are you going to keep the phone in front of your face all the time? And it's going to move back and forth. Even if you can borrow a decent laptop from a friend of yours, and you should use that. please don't use a phone. And
Can I
then
add,
there's,
Sharam, to that? Phone also has a problem that if you get any notification, your mic will mute and then you won't be able to speak. So phone is a terrible idea.
it doesn't look professional. Yeah. Um, uh, that they're saying any chance of any in-person interview. I don't think this year there are going to be any in-person interviews in general, as I think Abdul Rahman had already answered this question. Then there are questions about um, you want us to be in a usual conversation like when we do when we are sitting in the residence and cafeteria. Yes, like a general conversation. You can ask about anything. You can ask about like how does the food taste like here? If he's eating something, oh, do you like your fish? Something like that. It's perfectly fine. Be a normal human being. Like, you know, doesn't matter what you talk about. And someone was asking question about can we ask about the hospital? Definitely. No matter how much you read about the hospital online, of course the residents and the fellows and the attendings would know more, right? So they can still you can still ask them questions about how the hospital is like and things like that. um, and then they're saying uh, let's suppose one has work experience in IM FM. Is it okay to apply to other specialties even if we do not have work experience related to that specialty, for example, Waqas bhai?
Okay, so I always support applying more than one specialty if you don't have good scores, if you have less than 240s. The reason being, I have seen actually people getting into pathology, neurology. It doesn't mean that they are inferior. It means that they are more accommodative. They accommodate. They tend to accommodate. So medicine, if you have worked in internal medicine, neurology kind of is a part of internal medicine, but pediatric is a part of internal medicine. And you should be applying two specialties. I personally applied two specialties, med peds and medicine. I don't think anything negative in it. You should, because it is very possible that you work in internal medicine and you like peds as well, and but still you want to give first shot to medicine and second shot to peds.
Should we talk about gap year? Should we talk about gap year in personal statement, and what is a good way to address that if we have 1.5 years gap and did nothing?
Okay, so this is not in personal statement. This point usually highlights in ERAS CV, because ERAS CV is written in a chronological order, and if there is a gap, it becomes a little obvious. They may ask you. First, ask yourself why the gap happened. Be again realistic. What are the common reasons in our country? You are just preparing for step one. You are doing nothing, possible. You got married, something family related, very possible. So you can, if something family related, let them know it's family related. That's totally fine. Otherwise, you can say that you were, if you did a research, say part of research, and if you were just doing preparation, tell them that you were very concerned about getting good scores and you were very focused into the exams, and you were just prepared. I would avoid telling lies. The reason is that when you tell a lie, there are so many applications, parts of application, like personal statement, ERAS CV, LORs. They might contradict with each other. Might be some discrepancy. Telling lie, if it is picked up, you are ruled out. Period. No program will take a candidate who on the day one is telling lie. What on the near graduation, how much lie he will tell them. So I would be very careful. Some people say that they were part of a research. If they have research, although they were not a part of research then, they did research later, they can try. They can, at least they did research later. This is my personal opinion. Maybe Asad or Abdul Rahman has something better to tell.
Yeah, like I personally would say, like if you're applying to two specialties, try to focus on the one specialty that you really like, and the secondly, if it's a backup program, make it a decent backup program. Yeah. Like not like a waiver, like you have no connection to that field at all. Similarly, someone asked a question like, can I apply in derm along with IM? I have no research in derm. No, you should not do that. Derm is like a very competitive field, even for US grads. So your chances of getting a derm residency without doing any research is like practically none. So what I would recommend is, like, I think Waqas bhai, Abdul Rahman, Asad, I think most people do not recognize, like US is a land of opportunity. So even the people who have like less than exceptional scores, like 230s, 220s, I've seen people do, non-accredited fellowships like ID, nephrology, imaging fellowships, and then they end up matching into the same program next year. So that's a very decent backup plan you should think about. I think you should find some decent programs who are in ID, nephrology, imaging studies, like heart imaging or sleep medicine. These are the fellowships, non-accredited, even accredited fellowship you might be able to get without doing a residency, especially ID. I've seen people going to ID residency, ID fellowship, then doing a medicine residency, and then doing critical care. So they end up becoming ID critical care. So that's a very decent pathway, and some should look into it. But not like derm, or you're going to applying to a surgery fellowship, something like that. Just like the ones who are not that sort of. And can we mention online workshops that had CME hours in our CV? Other complement part.
Workshop, yeah, as I mentioned, if you did a workshop, any medical related workshop, as I mentioned, I did one workshop for communication skills. I used to mention, and I was asked in one interview. You can definitely mention in your ERAS CV. I will not mention all these details in personal statement. Personal statement. Remember, don't do repetition. You are being given two chances to express yourself. One on a personal statement, one in ERAS. If you repeat, you are actually losing your one option. You are given two chances to tell your two different, let's say, positives. Why you want to tell two times you are hardworking or you have done a workshop? Because if you tell two times, you are actually subtracting one good opportunity from yourself. Don't do that. That's repetition, and that should not happen.
Yeah. And some people have asked this question. I have a gap of 6 months in my CV. 6 months is not a gap. It's fine. And if they are saying they have done some volunteer work, so that's perfectly fine. When we talk about gap, it's like 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years that you didn't do anything. Few months here and there, everyone is going to have few months here and there. So that's not a gap.
And volunteer experience is never a gap, actually. In America, volunteer experience is mandatory. People are supposed to go out and do work with these societies and work, blood donation campaigns, hemophilia societies. So yes, it's not a gap. It's not a gap.
And from these chat and even from before, like most people have asked this question, like a ton of them have asked this question about going into a heavy research oriented program, for example, a big academic program, and mentioning, can I do cardiology and I want to do nephrology, GI, whatever, and I don't want to be a hospitalist. I personally would not recommend that. You can go into any program and you want to say that I have not decided yet. Don't feel pressure that, oh, I have to say something nice. I have to say that I'm going to cardiology or intensivist or something like that. Just tell them that I want to experience medicine in general. I want to learn all the fields and then decide what I want to do next. I'm undecided. That's a perfectly good answer. Yes. And actually, personally, myself, I would never say that I want to go to cardiology. If I have to apply again, I would never say that, because I'll tell you what happens is if you're really interested in one field and you learn a lot about cardiology, you might not know anything about ID, nephrology, GI. So when you're doing your rotations, you are a very good person in reading EKG, but you do not know how to manage a DKA or hyperglycemia and things like that. That actually counts as a negative, in my opinion, that you are very strongly inclined towards one program. Unless you have done a lot of research, definitely you should mention that I'm interested, but it's not set in stone. Yes, Asad Rahman.
I completely agree with it. The only point that I think would really add substance to your answer in this regard, that I really think that we also see in other subspecialty fellowships as well, is that when somebody asks you point blank whether you're interested in a specialty, if you have interest, you should mention that, but always put that in the context that you want to be a strong internist first before you make that decision. I think it's very important. You should put that point, even if you interview at Mass General Hospital in Boston, I think you should tell them that you want to be a strong internist first, and then you will think about going into a particular specialty. Anybody can be a good specialist, but I think it's very important that you have a good, you give that vibe in the interview that you're interested in their medicine residency program. You don't have eyes set for a particular specialty 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line or something like that. And then the other, just a quick comment. I agree with Waqas, fantastic talk. Abdurrahman bhai, fantastic. Just one little thing on the, think about the gap. I think you should not mention that in your personal statement. You should not point to your own weakness in your personal statement at that point. Don't bring attention to it unduly. If somebody asks you about, hey, what I noticed in your resume that you weren't working in the year XYZ, then you can mention, hey, I think I had something like this. If something was personal, you can mention that. But I think we shouldn't necessarily point attention towards something that you don't feel comfortable about in the first place.
Perfect. Just to add to that, like I personally have seen like program directors, like in my third year of my residency, one day my program director came by, oh, today everyone wants to be a cardiologist from your country. What's going on with your country? Everyone wants to be a cardiologist. And that year we had like 14 candidates applying to cardiology and 7 of them did not match. So he was already very stressed out about the fact that his residents are not matching into their desired fellowships and they're going unmatched. And then he's getting candidates who are saying, oh, I want to be a cardiologist. So just that's the reason I'm mentioning this point. So be very careful. If you have done a ton of research and you're really interested, yeah, mention it if someone asks you point blank. Completely agree with Dr. Asad's point. And then there's questions about year of graduation, 2008, step 1, 2. So these are some of the personal questions people are asking about their year of graduation and things like that. We can go over that, but in general, the talk that we are giving is a blanket statement about like how to go about residency and ERAS in general. Everyone might have their own setbacks and things like that, and that's perfectly fine. And whatever we're discussing about personal statement, Dr. Waqas bhai would agree that it's like a blanket in generic formula. You can just go one step here and there. It's just generic.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. As I said, please copy the configuration, not the composition. So it's just an idea that this is how it usually should look like. If I totally agree, if it may vary from person to person, but there are standard rules. So just follow the rules, and within the restraints of those rules, write what you want to, what you feel to write. Because be yourself. It is your statement. It is personal statement. It should personalize you, not me, who have written a generic design. Not every personal statement should describe me. It should describe you. So I just mentioned some professional rules, which I felt in last 7 years, 8 years, doing career counseling, reviewing so many personal statements, and then seeing their outcomes. So whatever I'm saying is a retrospective analysis as well as a cross-sectional analysis after communicating with program directors, chief residents, and so. So yeah, you can vary and you can go back and forth, but try to follow the professional rule. And I agree with Asad, never mention your gap in your personal statement. Never mention your gap in your ERAS CV. Only mention in an interview if you are asked. Remember, I mentioned in my talk, personal statement gets you screened for interviews, usually. That if they want to send you an interview. Now you got an interview. Now you are physically there. Now your interview would be more determined by your ERAS CV. So these are the significance of these two papers. Personal statement first gets you screened out, or screen, like they decide if they should be sending you. Of course, after reviewing your scores, transcript, all those numerical objective things, this is a subjective thing. And this is the most important subjective thing, like description of yours. They review it and then they decide it. Once they have decided and you are in the program for interview, now your program interview would go along your ERAS CV. Any part of ERAS CV, some interviews start with hobbies, some interviews start with volunteer experience, some interview would start, hey, you got 240 score in step 1, step 3, 210. Can you explain this? One interview can start like that as well. You should be ready for that. They can say, oh, you got 240 and next time 270. Wow, what a change. What did you do to attain that? Be ready to handle this question. I agree with Abdurrahman and Shahram that ask a question if you, just not for the sake of a question. If you are not attentive and your colleague is asking a question and you are, of course, I know, I have spoken with so many candidates. I know all of us make predetermined questions. And we think that asking a question shows your interest in the program. It does, but if it is your own question, if it is a pre-thought question, an internet question, a repeat question is very annoying. So please, better do not ask if it has already been. I have said in my interview program before, which we did last year, that if you do not have not at all a question, and they say that any question, you said yes, I had this question in my mind, and you perfectly actually explained while talking. So I really don't have it. You have actually explained all the questions. This is gonna show how attentive you were. That you had a question, he somehow your program director while talking about something explained. Let's like today while talking about ERAS and personal statement, let's say I talk about OET. Now if someone asks me again, Waqas bhai, I have a question, would OET will affect my ECFMG eligibility? I would say, बच्चे क्या आपने program सुना? वो कहेगा oh हाँ ये, तो it will look a little bad, and these things are noted. Better say, sir, I had yes, I had a question, and but Dr. ABC, I had a question, and but you actually very well spoke about it, and you cleared my thoughts. Perfect. Very simple. Okay. Better don't ask a manufactured question.
Especially program director. If program director has mentioned something in her talk, and you're asking a question to program director, and then she's gonna go back and look at your presentation. Did I not answer this question already? So that will be very bad. Yeah, completely agree. And then one thing I was thinking about, like, please don't mention superlatives in your personal statement or your CV anywhere. Like, I was an exceptional candidate, I was a brilliant student, I was a #1 student. Please do not mention that, because I think we have covered it a little bit, but like those those superlatives are always considered really bad. Like, you should never say that I am a brilliant candidate. All of the candidates are brilliant.
Yeah, your CV should say, rather than your
yes.
CV should say it.
Yeah.
If you are hardworking, like if you are a well-dressed guy, you should not say that I'm very well-dressed. Yeah. Your dress should say that you are well-dressed.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're exceptional, they will know you are exceptional. You don't have to mention in your personal statement that, oh, I was an exceptional medical student. Your scores, your your medical school certificates, and your assemblies will show that. I think we have covered almost all the questions, and it's already like late here, midnight. Thank you so much, Waqas bhai, Abdurrahman.
Shara, before you go, just ask all the candidates. I think I'm seeing there's 75 people here. Just allow anyone who can.
I can. Yeah, you can request to unmute, and if you want to ask questions that has not been asked yet, you can go ahead.
If they have been wait till that late, they should be given opportunity to talk.
Sure. Yeah, because most of the questions were in the. I think most of the questions are in the chat, but we can unmute someone who wants to ask any question. You can ask to be unmute, please.
Oh, hi, can you hear me? Can I?
Yes, Aftab. Yes, Aftab. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your presentations and for helping us out. I have a question. I am currently in USA, and I want to ask whether it would make any difference if I take an interview here in USA or in Pakistan. So how do you think about that? Thank you.
Aftab, again, I think we answered this question. That
you answered the question, but I didn't get it clearly.
Sure, no problem.
I have to book my ticket. So if there is no chance of any, if it does not make any difference, then I should move back to Pakistan. So that's why I'm asking again. Thank you for your questions.
Sure. Sudarman, I think you picked up that. You had already answered the question, but yeah. Can you answer this question again?
The question is whether you want to go back to Pakistan.
Sure. Yeah. So the question basically is like, can we stay here or should we go back to Pakistan? So I think we discussed that right now the interviews are going to be Zoom interviews. And actually I forgot to mention that some programs also do WebEx interviews as well. So it's almost the same thing. It's the same software. It's a little bit different software, but Zoom or WebEx interviews in general. So that will not make any difference whether you're in Pakistan or US. So if you have to go back to Pakistan.
The only difference is probably going to make over here is if you're going to do your step 3 exam or something while you're in the interview process. I think if you can only do that while you're here.
Yeah.
But otherwise it makes no difference whether you are here or not. And the program likely will not be knowing where the IP address is coming from, whether it's going to be Pakistan or the US.
Yeah. So just to stay here, just for the interview, you know, you're gonna stay here, you have a visa, you know, you have to make sure that you're doing something here, you're spending a lot of money. So just for the interview, you should not stay. You know, if you want to stay for something else, you can. I think, Alena Hassan, I'm gonna unmute you. You can ask your question, please.
Hi, this is Alina Hassan from Akhan University. I had a question regarding putting content on my CV. I'm sorry I joined the meeting late. I just really wanted to confirm whether it is all right for us to put on our CV ongoing projects, ongoing research projects that have not yet been published.
Yes, if you're currently working, it is a work experience, a research work experience. You can definitely, I mentioned that in my slides, if you're currently working or have done it with a publication, either way, you should mention as a research experience. And you should, in the description, you should say that you are still working on. Design is the same, name of the mentor, name of the hospital, name of the project, how far you have worked up, so that it will look real and it will look that you are in the middle or in the start or in the end, wherever you are, it deserves a mention.
Just a quick comment on it. Just whenever you mention a project like that, please make sure that you're very well, I mean, you know this inside out. I mean, we're just interviewing, you should not just put that in there just for the sake of putting it in there. Make sure that before the interview, you know very well who they include, what kind of population you're studying, what are the inclusion exclusion criteria are, what your end goals are, what's the primary outcome, secondary outcome. So please make sure that you're well aware of it, because it would look terribly bad if somebody has an interest in that area and they ask you a question about it, and for some reason or another, you may not be able to satisfy them with a good answer.
And I will add to that similar sort of thing, that there are a lot of applicants that will write their prior research projects. And then the question sometimes comes up, like, you started so many projects, but you did not complete any of them. So just be careful about, if you didn't get any publication from certain, you spent 2 years with somebody and then you, so it kind of looks bad. So make sure you write what you can justify, as Asad was saying.
All right. Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Next is Farah. I'm going to unmute. Farah, you can ask your question.
Yeah, hello. Sorry. So I'm just going to ask a very quick question. Is it a good idea to apply to more than 2 programs? Say, for example, I am neuro and peds, or will it be like too much to manage in the end? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have answered this question. Yes. If it is related and you like medicine and speeds or medicine and neurology, it is okay to apply to programs. And sometimes because one specialty may have a lower threshold or maybe a merit wise, because neurology doesn't require 250 plus as medicine might be. So yeah, it is okay. But as Shara mentioned, that don't be the left and right wings, like dermatology and medicine and surgery. Like, you know, medicine and surgery would look like day and night. So don't do that. But yeah, if related, we always recommend, that's totally fine.
So I'm going to go by the people who have raised hands. So please make sure you speak in your turn. Next, I think it was lecture 7. You should use your real name, but anyways, lecture 7, please. Who is that?
Okay, yes. Hi, assalamu alaikum. Sorry, my question currently does not hold of for the personal statement.
Can you tell us your name first, please? What's your name?
My name is Abdullah.
All right.
Okay, so my question is that I'm a year 2008 graduate. 202 and 219 are my scores, and I got 2 attempts on my CS. I've been working like as a lecturer, and I'm a US citizen. How can I improve my CV and get a better chance of getting into internal medicine? Can you please, I would really like the great minds over here to comment on the situation so I can get a much clearer perspective as well as guidance into my endurance, please.
So I can start, because I'll let the great mind speak later. I will let me talk first. But I think a lot of questions and a lot of the theme in the questions that are being asked, whether it is a gap in their CV, old year of graduation, an attempt or a low score. I think all of that, I think you guys know the answer that for sure those things are going to hurt you. I mean, there's no other opinion about that. Like, I think a low score, somebody with higher scores will definitely get preference. Somebody who has a recent, is a recent graduate will definitely look better. So I think you already know the answer to that question. And the other part is that, as Shahram had said, this is a land of opportunities. So I will always say that there is hope. Doesn't matter where you were and what your resume was like. You just have to keep your options open and tailor your efforts to something that is realistic. For example, like I know people that have had low scores attempts, they still matched. They focused their efforts. What that means is they ended up working for a hospital that had a residency program. I know people that actually even worked in the billing department and ended up matching. I think applying to 200 programs probably is not going to help you because, again, I think as the applicant pool is getting more competitive, it's hard to justify, and with the filters will filter out a lot of these applicants. So focusing efforts for something major is helpful. And when it comes to things like a little bit of lower scores, a little bit of like 6 months of gap, don't worry about that. And don't try to focus too much on your weakness. I think that point has been repeated a few times. Even yesterday, Dr. Kosa mentioned that. Don't highlight your weaknesses. Know that you have a weakness. And if it comes up, justify honestly. You don't have to, also come up with a sad story, even if that happened. Just justify it honestly. For example, you had a 6-month gap because you had a baby. That's absolutely fine. That is appreciated. I think nobody will hold that against you.
Abdullah, I would like to
Thank
add,
you very much.
because again, the great minds are talking, so the greatest mind, Asad Rahman, to be last. So I would say, Abdullah, there is one more way. I would be very specific about your case. You mentioned 2 attempts, you mentioned some low scores and a very old year of graduation. I have seen people doing the retrograde approach. The retrograde approach means you go for fellowship first, and a fellowship which is very easy to land in. And I would quote Get Geriatric, and I would quote even a program, Montefiore Medical Center, New York City, that has the biggest number of seats for geriatric in the country, which are 10. Most of the seats, half of them go empty. They take people without residency. 1-year program. You're a US national, you don't have any issues with the visa. You go there, let's say, I'm just giving one example. There might be many programs which might be having such fellowships going empty. You do your best in fellowship. At least you are in the system now. You know the program director of geriatric who will be a part of the medicine faculty. Actually, Montefiore's program director is a vice chair of the Department of Medicine. So what that means, he has a hold, means he has a say. Do your best. Don't show him that you are adopting a retrograde approach. Just say that you want to work, and thus you have done research and whatever you are doing lectures, that will show up. And then somewhere in the middle, 6 months later, 7 months later, you develop a rapport with the program. You go for lunches, you go for dinners actually, and then you can mention, that is my long-term plan. I'm thinking, is it possible? Can it happen? And believe me, it can happen. This is called retrograde approach. And if you are so good, your rapport is good, you're humble, down to earth, you are hardworking, you are doing what you got, you have no regrets about, you are not underestimating or undermining geriatric. You believe that it is a very important field, given most of the population are going to be geriatric, and it's a totally different species. I don't say they are different patients, I say they are different species. You will leave marks, and very possible that you would have so good words that program director of medicine would take you next year. This is called retrograde approach, and I have seen this happen.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next, Farah, you can ask your question, please.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. I'm Farah from Saudi. So I have, my question is related to the ERAS application. So I'm working as a clinical trial manager at Hopkins, and I have a couple of publications also. So I wanted to know, like, the experience that I'm going to enter, would that come under the work experience or would that be under my research experience? So this is my first question. And my second question is related to the mock interviews that you mentioned. How will those mock interviews be organized? If you can please elaborate on that. Thank you.
Waqas, can you take the first question?
I would refer this to Asad about research training. If you ask about the personal statement, or sorry, the ERAS, and you are mentioning about clinical trials, I would mention the research part, and that's okay. Even actually work experience is also okay. It doesn't matter. If you have worked like 2 years and you have research, and you also have some work experience like clinical, then I would use 2 separate options, because that will explain you more. Now you will fill the 2 parts of the CV. If you have a clinical work like rotation, which I hope you might have, mention those rotation in the work experience. And if you have research trials, as you mentioned, Boston, you mentioned those in the research experience. That will open up, expand your work experience overall, rather than overlapping it. So that otherwise, if you have no clinical rotations done, you only have research trials, you can mention go either way.
And regarding the second part,
Rahman, I guess.
Yeah. Regarding the second part, I think we are coordinating, a mock interview session, and we will advertise it on our Facebook page. So hopefully everyone, all of you would know about that. We have not finalized the dates or anything like that, so we will come up with a plan and we'll advertise it on our Facebook page. Next is Dr. Ahmed. You can ask your question, please.
First of all, I am very thankful to the organizers for organizing this informative session. My question is that if one has a lot of citations, like for example in triple figures, should I even add that to the ERAS, and where should I exactly add that in this ERAS? Because I couldn't add in the experience section or in the research experience section. So should I add in the accomplishment section or in award section? Where should I add it?
What was, say it again, what you have done which you want to mention? I missed the first line.
I'm talking about the citations actually. ERAS has a section of adding the publications, but we couldn't add citations in that section. So should we add citations in the ERAS, and where exactly we should add that?
I would say in the publication section actually, because I don't see a separate corner where if you have been cited by different articles or people, that does not happen, because that still comes under publication, and some of your publication might be cited as well. I don't see a reason for a separate box for it, honestly speaking, because it comes under the publication umbrella. That's my thought. And as I said, ERAS is a very prefixed template, and if you have to mention, publication would be the best box. So maybe Abdul Rahman or Asad have better. Asad has done a lot of research, I guess. Asad may have a better answer.
Like, should we even mention it, or mentioning it would give any negative impact or something like that?
Mention it, that's fine, because not every publications are like, if you think you have citations, while mentioning the link and the details of the publication, you can actually mention the number of citations. That should be okay. I don't think it's an overexpression. If it is real and you have citations, go for it, mention.
I think it's reasonable to mention it, as long as you're not bragging about it. I think so. That's the whole point. I think it shouldn't look like you're being very pompous about it. But as I think it's reasonable to put it, especially if something has been cited over, say, 50 times or something, that means that it has real significance in the eyes of other people who are publishing. So I think it's reasonable not to mention like cited 2 times or 3 times. I don't think that makes much sense. But I think if something really has a lot of has got a lot of clinical attention, that's reasonable.
Yeah. So like if I should mention it like in just one sentence that I have this number of citations like in triple figure, that's it?
No. What Waqas is telling you is that with each publication or something like that you're mentioning in there somewhere in the free text or something like that, you can mention that. I know there is no particular box for it where you can mention the number of times your research has been cited, but it's going to be hard. I never did it in the past. I mean, I never had a lot of research when I was applying for residency, but I think that you should not really make a point out of it that, hey, I've got 200 citations already on my research work. I mean, at the end of the day, you're applying for a residency position, you're not applying for a research scientist. So that's an important point that you're trying to make over here.
So I don't think we have like a perfect answer for it, but I would suggest like just putting a small bracket when you have a title of your research, just a small bracket like 56, 70 citations. That's it. Don't like make a whole sentence out of it. Just 50, 100 citations, whatever you have. And when they read it, they'll probably go in PubMed and search it themselves, so they'll find it. What do you think?
Thank you so much.
Just in a bracket, you just put number of citations if you really have significant number.
All right, thank you.
Next is Vinesh. You can ask your question, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Dr. Organization. Actually, this is my fourth match, and I have a couple of the questions. Like, I was working as a resident medical officer during my during that period. So whenever I had interviews, I used to come United States. Like, I was resigning from job and I was coming back. So it was the same hospital. I didn't leave the hospital, South City Hospital. The question that I have, like, when I am putting work experience in my ERAS resume, so like if I'm leaving that job in October 2000 something like 18 and I'm resuming it again in the March 2019, and like similarly in the next year, like 2019, like I'm resigning from around September and then resuming in the February, then what should I like? How should I address those? Because it's a similar job that I'm doing in the same hospital as a resident medical officer. So what should I do? Like, because every time I would put the same paragraph, it will not create a difference because I did same thing, same work, nothing different.
So the question is that you have breaks in between your training, but it's the same training, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Waqas?
Yeah. So first of all, I wish you good luck. I hope you may get matched. I can understand this agony and this this feeling that you are trying to express, which I got. When you apply every time and you program different in different programs, they download your application, they review your ERAS, it is very unlikely that they go through your previous ERAS. With 6,000, 8,000 applications, and now actually this season is going to be a lot more application because of virtual interviews. Every program is going to do 3 times more interviews. I really, even if they say they do that, practically it's not possible. So every time you apply a new ERAS and they review your latest one, they know what you are writing. And as Dr. Kosa said, as many people said today, don't mention your weaknesses. If you are unmatched for this much reason, don't bring up at least on documents. And if you are asked during an interview, then you would have a better chance to express yourself. Papers don't speak, humans speak. So basically, I would just say I've been working from this much to this much time here, and I would be a little more I will go in a little more details about the job description under the same headings: hospital name, description, your role, what you have done. Be a little more descriptive, since you have spent so much time. Because on average, a person does 1 month observership or work experience, and they write 5-6 lines. If you've done 3-4 years, you should have a lot of stuff to write, and that is totally fine. But I would avoid mentioning that you are not matched for 3 years. I would avoid mentioning that you are working in this program, and don't write in a way that it looks like you're a failure. Write in a way it looks like you like it, you are advancing wherever you are, and of course you will be asked a question during interview about your previous attempts, since your year of graduation might be very old. And then at least you have a better chance to talk, and because expressions also speak, words speak, but papers don't speak as good as humans. So I hope I tried to answer. But I would again say, uh, I don't know your background much, but if you have this much experience and you have 4 attempts, uh, with every attempt, the chance of match in the next matching season decreases. That's my personal experience, and it is also statistically proved. I'm not bringing this up to discourage you, but at the same time, I want you to look up for better options, better available options. I would say you can go for Qatar. Qatar really acknowledges good clinical experience, wide clinical experience, and their health system and training system is as good as American system because they follow the US residency system. I have very good friends in Qatar who are doing very good, very happy, very accomplished. Zohaib, Mohammed Awais Qureshi, I would take a few names. They are very accomplished, very good physicians in their own fields and very happy. So again, try to explore more options rather than just making a habit and applying and coming, leaving the program, coming here, spending so much money. I would be more realistic and I would be looking towards more effective options.
Yes, yes, Waqas. Actually, I'm planning to do residency in Pakistan. Like then I will go for fellowship in a retrograde pattern. That I'm also keeping that option that you told me, that you told us. And the thing I want to ask, like every time, like on the first time when I applied, I didn't get interview. Next time I applied, I got 4 interviews. Third time I applied, I got 7 interviews. So like every year I was getting good number of, like increasing number of interviews.
Okay.
Yeah, might be, yeah, like might be they know like I am applying 4 times and they are not ranking me very high. It's also one way true. Another question that I have, that I do not have any USMLE attempt. Like my scores are 223. I took it in the 2016. First step I took in the 2016. Then around 2018 I finished all the steps. Like my score in step 1 is like 223 and step 2 is 248. That's a quite progressively increasing. And I have been asked a couple of the time that why do you have this difference in your score?
So Vinesh, first thing, have you done step 3 afterwards?
Yeah, I completed in 2018.
Okay. So what I would suggest is, like as Waqas is saying, I think you have to really impress the programs in your interview. If you're getting decent number of interviews, that's a plus, that's a positive. Even if you get 1 interview, you have a real chance of matching that program. I've seen so many people match with just 1 interview. So what I would suggest is that, do something that you really impress some, like at least one of them. If they're really impressed by you, they will take you. They do not generally know how many times you have applied. Like they don't have time. They hardly have time to go through your CV and personal statement, honestly. I've taken so many interviews without even properly going through the research because I was more interested in their personal statements and their ERAS CV and what they've done recently. And program directors tell me the same thing. They don't have time to go over each and everything. So they don't know how many times you have applied. So if you're getting decent interviews, work on your communication skills, work on your interview skills, and you can apply in alternative fields. If you do residency, try to apply ID, nephrology in US, and try to get a retrograde program as we were talking about earlier.
I agree with Sharam. Then as you mentioned, that every next time you get better interviews and still you do not get match, unfortunately. The diagnosis might be your communication skills, and that's totally fine. First, let's diagnose it first. Let's admit it first and look into it and try to improve it. As I'm sure Apna might be doing a lot of programs. We also have done program. It's available here. And it's always important to diagnose and realize what is wrong and then work on that. Communication skills are a big reason of not getting matched if still getting interviews, and they are reversible. This is a reversible damage. It can be improved. Definitely it can be improved.
Yeah.
This is the only area, let me tell you, this is the only area where the improvement basically expands, becomes very obvious. You can't improve your step 1 scores, you can't improve your step 2 scores, you can't improve your attempts in CS failure. But this is the only area where you improve, it becomes so obvious that you get matched next time.
Just practice, practice, practice. Practice interviews taking skills. Ask your friends to take interviews from you. Ask your seniors to take interviews from you. Ask the people that you're working with to take interviews for you. It would not hurt. Practice, practice, practice. All right. Next, I have Ahmed. You can ask your question, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much. I actually have 2 questions. First of all, March, I did a telehealth COVID-19 volunteership. But later in May, I was also doing an in-person rotation in a clinic. So there is an overlap. How do I explain it in ERAS, or how do I go about it during my ERAS application? And the second question is that I have a 250 plus in step 1 and 240 in step 2 CK. These are okay scores, but there is a 10 score drop. Do I explain it in personal statement or do not mention it? Thank you.
Ahmed, my friend, this is not a drop. It's your scores are very good. So in general, whatever you have scored highest, so I'll give you an example. If someone has scored 260 and 250, he's considered a 260 candidate. If someone has scored 250 and 240, he's considered a 250 candidate because that's his potential. If you drop 10, doesn't matter. If you drop 10, 15, unless the big drop means like 260 to 200 or 210, 220. So don't worry about 250 to 240. You are a 250 candidate, number 1. Okay. Number 2, Waqas bhai, you can answer his question about time.
Even if I agree with
Thank you
that this is not a drop, but even if there is a drop, there is no place in personal statement for a drop to be mentioned, because we have said multiple times, and Dr. Kosa said, don't express or don't just try, don't just go there. Why you want to talk about it? Let it be simple and let them ask you if they want to. Yes, I actually should have mentioned that when I was presenting ERAS, because this year is a little different. People have done telehealth rotations, and it's possible that they might be doing 2 telehealth rotations during the same time period, and that is time practically possible. It is not something it doesn't look like. If you say I was working in March in Massachusetts and as well as in New York, that looked unreal. But if you say I was working in New York physically and I was doing telerotation in Massachusetts, that looks real. So that's fine. You can mention as 2 separate work experience and mention in the description that it was a telerotation. Again, the name of the mentor, name of the hospital, name of the department, hours you spent, what was your role, what you used to do, and what did you learn. This is like a 4, 5, 6 lines. As we are talking about telerotation, let me talk about it. Let me say it. People were spending $1,500, $2,000 for telerotation. They were asking me, is it worth it? I would say no. Okay, it does not. It is not worth it, $1,500. Or because I have seen many people, many posts from my forum I removed and deleted, people were making it a business. Many companies were posting and advertising about it. Please do not let yourself be exploited. Please do not let yourself be exploited. Please do not don't think that COVID is only for you guys. COVID is for like the 7 billion people, not only for IMG, it's for everyone. If you have not done USCE, not local people have not done same time. Caribbeans have not done. Indians have not done. No one has done because hospitals are closed, damn closed. I was home for 3 months. We didn't do any single endoscopy. Our training was interrupted. If training can be interrupted, observership definitely can be blocked, stopped, and that is totally fine. These are uncertain times. People who are taking interviews are real people who actually seen these times, have managed the patient these times. They know that. And don't pay this much amount for telerotations. If you have done, that's fine. Mention it, give yourself credit, but do not do it in future. It's for everyone who is listening us. This is my personal opinion. People may differ, that's totally fine. But I don't see a risk versus benefit ratio where benefit is greater than the risk here. Because the real purpose of getting you in a US hospital, getting you observership is to see the system. They don't expect you to learn how to treat pneumonia or COPD or asthma or GI bleed. They want you to learn what is PCA, what is a nurse, what is a chief resident, how do an ER looks like, how does an ER look like, how does a typical day start, how they do codes, how they call codes, basic language. You do an observership to learn the language. You do not do observership to operate the machinery or examine the patient or manage the patient. So if you are doing, let me ask you, by doing a telerotation, do you learn the language? I don't know. If you are not physically there, how you can see a code happening? Who will be taking computer with it during a code? No one. So if you're getting it for like 400 bucks, 200 bucks, okay, go for it. $1,500? Damn no. Hell no.
No way.
Just my personal experience. Don't quote me. Don't quote that the forum is saying, because even other panelists can differ from.
No, we agree. Actually, most of us are the same opinion. I think we agree. Like just for the telerotation, this much money is crazy. Secondly, I think Ahmed had a question.
I don't know if it's a different Ahmed. I already asked. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Muzda Subhan has raised her hand.
Yeah, Muzda Subhan.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I found this session very informative. I am a 2018 graduate from Khyber Medical College, Peshawar, and I plan to apply to radiology, even though I've heard that it's very competitive and it is difficult for IMGs to get into it. But I've got good scores like 266 in step 1 and 276 in step 2. But I do not have any US clinical experience because of the COVID, and I do not have any US LOR. So is it better to apply to just preliminary year, because I will be needing that for radiology anyway? So just applying for that, because I think there's a better chance of getting matched into prelim year, and then maybe like applying to both, but also to prelim year, like ranking it separately as well. So is it a good idea?
So your scores are exceptional. Congratulations. I think you should definitely apply for radiology. There's no harm in applying. And not getting US clinical experience this year, as we had already mentioned, that's because of COVID. So that should not harm your CV in general. Regarding LORs, I would suggest you can still try to get LORs from good physicians if they're in US, Canada. Try to have some some people give you good LORs, and then that should help. Waqas, you have to add something.
Your scores are marvelous. So with these scores, no one is going to deny you a prelim. And if you're only applying a prelim, you are underestimating yourself. Yeah. You are taking a chance away from you. Did you see the video from a radiologist, Dr. Umar Tariq? He's a very famous person, career counselor, umartariq.com, famous umartariq.com. He recently posted a video about himself. We actually started a series called It's Okay to Fail, in which every one of us mentioned our own failures, personal failures, not our success. And bottom line was, it's okay to fail. So in his failure story, he very bravely and very boldly said that he had an attempt in CS, and he told his scores. He had an attempt in CS. He still matched in radiology. His step 1 scores was just 219. Your 276 is extremely high. I have not seen this high score. So if I have a candidate on my table with 276 and 266, and if she has not an LOR because of COVID, I don't have any reason not to consider her or him. So I would say, go ahead, give yourself a full chance, and we will wish you very best.
All right, Jorn, that sounds good.
I would say that you are a candidate that I think should reach out to faculty in US that's already in radiology. And I know a very good friend of mine, Naeem, is at Emory these days. These kind of people will be happy to sort of help you out in terms of getting you involved in a project that you can put on your CV saying, I have a genuine interest in radiology. So I think that's something I would highly recommend. I'm sure you're doing that, but yeah.
Actually, I started on the USMLE route. Like I didn't have plans for it, but because of I got married and stuff, so I had to come to US. So I'm kind of recent, a new thing. It's a new thing for me, and I haven't reached many people because I don't know many people in radiology. Or most of the Pakistani people I find here, they are internal medicine ones. So I couldn't find any resident in radiology or any faculty member to contact. So
yesterday Faisal Bhai was giving a talk, and he was telling in his talk that how to contact him, and he can help with the research projects and stuff like that as well. You should watch his video. It should be on the Facebook, and then I think you can contact him. You can contact him that you're an exceptional candidate, and I'm fairly certain that he will help you out.
Okay,
and also
that's one
media
kind
is going to help you. I think that's where social media and reaching out to people is going to help you. I think you are not doing. I think you have got exceptional scores. I think as Abdurrahman Bhai, I think a person, if you contact somebody, I would feel happy to recommend you, because that would make me look good. I'll be honest with you. So I think if you reach out to people, there's no harm in doing so. Especially there are a lot of people out there. Like Dr. Khosa himself, who's a radiologist, and a lot of other people who can help you get connected with the right people, just to so that your application gets reviewed.
So the point of the LOR is that if you are doing something, even if you have not published anything, if you're just involved in a project with him, then he can have a leverage. Okay, she's the person that I personally know, and she's working with me and stuff like that. It will give an edge to his LOR. In general, you can still contact people and get LORs from them. The point that I'm trying to make is that if you are actively working with them, it gives them even a solid base to recommend you, highly recommend you to their faculty and to their programs and things like that. So you should definitely reach out to him and others in radiology.
So you mentioned Faisal, I'm sorry, I didn't get the name correctly.
Faisal Khosa, it was
Faisal
a video.
Khosa, okay.
Yeah, it was a video yesterday. We did this similar Zoom conference. It was mainly Dr. Faisal Khosa's talk. It should be available on Facebook, and we can send a link to you so that you can reach out to him personally as well.
All right, fine.
You can also reach out to Dr. Faisal Khosa and Umar Tariq. Both are radiologists. Umar Tariq is also a career counselor. He would be happy to help you. And another thing I want you to do that, actually request you, that you should write your step 1 and especially step 2 CK experience, how you managed to reach to this mark like 276, and you should publish. Many people, I invite you to write this on King Edward Assembly Forum. Many people have written their step 1, step 2 score experience, what resources they use, how much time they spend, how many hours a day they spend, how they manage to get this good score, because this will help hundreds, thousands.
Yeah. All right, fine. Inshallah, I'll do that.
Thank you. Next is Sania Salim.
Yes, hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, so my question is, like Waqas Bhai said that tele-rotations, they're not worth the money that they're asking for. But like if someone doesn't have a single US LOR, so don't you think that they should be going for that? I mean, I have no clinical experience and no US LOR.
I didn't say that they are not worth it. I said it's a risk-benefit ratio. If you do not have any clinical experience and you are getting a tele-rotation for $2,000, $1,500, personally, I would not do that because if I'm spending this much money and I'm seeing how much benefit I'm getting, against that money, the benefit might not be that great. If you're getting that and you can afford that, that's fine. But do not expect that this would be the difference. I'm very blunt while saying this, but because imagine you can afford pay $1,000. Another person next to you cannot afford pay $1,000. You have same scores. He has Pakistan letters. You have Pakistan letter plus a tele-rotation which you are able to afford. You apply the same program. Someone is a program director. Program directors very well know how much these rotations are being sold for. They know very well. So he may give you a credit, but he would not underestimate the second guy. He would also get the same credit. He would say, yeah, he didn't do it because there was COVID and he might not afford it. So then the competition would be the rest of the factors. I have written about the factors affecting match in COVID. It's a long article. It's available. factors which would affect the match post-COVID. This is the title. And I have mentioned these parts over there. In these circumstances, your scores are going to be important rather than these tally rotations versus a guy who has no tally rotation and equal scores, because this is more commercial than your, ability.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
can I
I
ask
think,
another question? Yeah.
Sure. Just to finish your question, first part, like I think we focus on US clinical LORs, and of course they're very important, but please do not underestimate the content of the letter itself. So even if you have Pakistan LORs, please make sure they are written well, they have a good content, and they talk about your personality, they talk about your exceptional career, because LORs should have, when we were talking about in your personal statement, don't write superlatives. In LORs, the attending physician should be using superlatives: exceptional candidate, exceptional scores, exceptional work ethics, and things like that. And those matter. So they might, again, US LORs are important, but even if the Pakistani attendings are giving you LORs, make sure they are good LORs, and it's fine.
And Maruf has summarized it very well, that superlative should be in LORs, not in personal statement or ERAS. Very well summarized.
Okay, thank you very much. And another thing. Yeah, please, thank you.
No, I would say I think this is a general statement again, because since it's hard to generalize anything. You've heard of personalized medicine. The same goes with all these talks that we're giving. There is these general sort of things that we talk about, but everything that is personalized, I think, carries more weight. The strategy from an applicant, with different weaknesses, their strategy should be different from somebody who has exceptional scores and will match anyway. The same goes for LORs. So again, when we're on the other side, when we were in your shoes, nobody told us this, but there is certain language that people are looking for in an LOR, as Sharam was saying, exceptional, top 3% of the trainees I have worked with. That is what matters. Having US experience, if it doesn't translate into a good LOR, I don't think, and I agree with Waqas, I don't think it is worth it. Or I don't think it will make a huge difference, to be more accurate. On the flip side, I know a program director that I was talking to, and she said that she absolutely considers it a negative if she finds out that somebody did a rotation that was like paying $3,000 and then ends up being a generic LOR, which she finds from another applicant who had the same LOR, exact copy. So I think you have to weigh your pros and cons.
Yep. Thank you, Abdurrahman. Yeah, again, so a disclaimer that whatever we're discussing here today is our opinion. Like, it's not like a hard fact. We didn't do any research on it. Like, that's the way to go about it. But based on the experience that we all have, and we've been doing this for the past 6-7 years, whatever we're talking about is based on our experience. So again, everyone can have like plus and minus to this, but that's just a generic, and it's not like a harfi akhir, as we say. It's not like set in stone. All right.
Okay.
Next is Saad.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Saad.
Thank you all for taking time to give us this talk. I just had a question about ECFMG certification. My question is whether it's important to get it done by the 21st of October, or it can possibly be delayed to the 31st of December. The issue that I'm facing now is that I cannot get an OET exam done. Definitely not by the 21st of October, and potentially, may only be able to do it by the 31st of December. So would it look bad on my end if I don't have full certification when the ERAS opens on the 21st of October?
Waqas bhai?
Yes, I think we have answered this. You might have joined maybe late, so I can repeat it. Yes, there is no relation between ERAS and ECFMG. There is no filter. This time application is not going to be filtered out because of ECFMG certified or uncertified, because it's not going to be based on CS. It's going to be based on multiple factors like pathways and OETs. The last legitimate date given by the ECFMG is 31st December for pathway 1, OET 31st December, and for pathway 2 is 31st January. The programs will be notified about your ECFMG certification final status in February 2021, which is the ranking time. So by then you might be you will be done with the interviews. So this time you will not look back. This is what you think based upon previous lines, but you have to standardize that this time there is no CS, and this time is going to be everything is different. You never apply ERAS in October, you apply ERAS in 15th September. Now everything is different. So ECFMG has nothing to do with ERAS interviews. As long as you fulfill the eligibility, you do your OAT, send the stuff to them before 31st December, you meet the line and well in time. Please try to find on King Edward Forum, maybe I will share with Maruf after that article that particularly explains the effect of COVID on ECFMG and ERAS and their relation. It's a long article, but it explains whatever you guys have been asking for the last 2 hours. Maybe I will share it with Apna and YPC, and they can publish wherever they want to. Yeah, but yes, answer, it has nothing to do with your, so focus on your ERAS, focus on your, or the components which our panelists have been talking today. Focus on these things: interviews, personal statement, ERAS, program list, connections, as Asad mentioned, social media connections, reaching out to your seniors, as Abdul Rahman mentioned, be professional, virtual interview practice. So focus on these stuff. Don't focus on the stuff which you do not have in your hands. And when you have liberty given by the ECFMG, go ahead, enjoy that. Don't ask the questions which bother you for nothing. Actually, you don't have any control. And actually, most of the people have not reviewed the ECFMG website updates on these pathways. Very clearly they have written. People have not gone through that big article on ECFMG because that's very technical, and they are asking the questions again and again which have been very well answered there, and that's okay. But again, this is all technical stuff, nothing related with your ERAS.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, please do share, and we'll post it on our Apna YPC page and our Apna page as well. Next, I think it's there are a couple of questions. I think they're important questions. Someone asked, can you explain waived and unwaived LOR? This is someone named iPhone. But yeah, so waived LORs are the one that you are unable to see. So basically, you're attending, uploads by himself or herself, and you are not able to see. An unwaived LOR, they don't know who uploaded it, but anyways, they are from the attending. It's a good question that if we upload Pakistani LORs, they would be unwaived. So as far as my knowledge, I do not think there is a way for the Pakistani attendings or physicians to have a LOR portal to waive their LORs. Correct me if I'm wrong, Abdul Rahman, Waqas, or Asad, if you know better.
Easy, yeah. So I think anybody can access, anybody can write a letter, anybody can create, can get a portal. It doesn't have to be somebody in the US, as long as they have an internet connection. They can set up an account, and you can easily upload that letter.
So they will be able to upload.
Yeah, definitely. And if your attending is not technologically savvy, you can help them with it. I mean, yes, you can definitely do that.
So I did help like a couple of attendings in the past in US, but the question was they should still mention them as physicians in Pakistan, the actual title and all stuff, because there is a way that they can corroborate, like if this person actually exists in US or not, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's fine. I think the letter should be waived. I think it's good for it to be waived. I think it carries more weightage if it is waived. And we all know, going through the process, we sometimes do see our own letters, I mean, despite them being waived as well. And everybody knows that. And the program directors know that as well. Again, I think the letter writer should categorically mention in the letter that the letter, if it truly was waived, that mention that it is a waived letter. And then they should upload it from Pakistan as well. That is perfectly fine. I see no reason for it to have an issue.
Thanks, Asad. Next, it's I think Bilal Hussain.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time. So I just want to ask about the Dean's LOR. I know it has been replaced by the MSP, but there's like a Dean of Medicine LOR with some of the programs required that we upload to the LOR portal. So I know there are only a few, but most of the times the Dean's LOR we get from the King Edward's more like a generic one. So just because it's a generic one, I don't think it would help that much, but I do have all the 4 US LORs. So I was just wondering if I can just upload the US LORs and skip the Dean.
Okay, I would say that I got your point actually. If you have 4 US LORs, why you want to put a generic commonly written Dean letter when you have specific letters? But as you yourself mentioned, there are certain programs who require. So what I would do, if I have a list of 100 programs, I would actually go through the programs and I would see which are the programs, every program in their website they have mentioned if they need a Dean's letter or not. If they need a Dean's letter, separate them. And then for them, put a Dean's letter. If they don't need a Dean letter, preferably put your more specific, more elaborative, more personal letters than a Dean letter. Because most of the time, Dean letter is not going to be a specific letter. I have seen Dean's letter, they are so generic, but just because they are Dean's letter, they are important sometimes for some programs, not all.
And so let's just say they ask it for it, but we don't upload it and we just use all 4 LORs. So that would be a bad thing or not?
I would not do that. If they ask for it, I would upload it. Even they ignore it or not ignore it, this is very unprofessional. If they are saying 4 letters, one should be Dean, then it should be Dean.
Okay. And let's say it's like 2 or 3 years old when I graduated, is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine. If you sometime you're applying late and but still he's your dean's letter. They want to know the opinion of your dean about yourself when you were a student or undergrad. So that is fine. What you can do, what actually you can do, you can reach your dean, you can reach your registrar, and you can reach your societies. Like for King Edward, we tried that years ago. We reached out the dean of King Edward then, and we sent him a sample dean's letter and requested him that he should put one specific line which should be different for every candidate. And so some deans can accommodate, some cannot. Most of the time they only sign, they don't know what even it is written. Their registrars and their clerks make the letters. So reach out to the clerks, reach out to the registrar department, I would say, and try to make your dean's letter look like a real letter, look like a letter you want to be. But if someone is asking a dean letter, I would not just, this is something like they are not asking you and they're asking something different and you are just forcing something different. I would take it that way if I'm a member of the resident selection committee.
Yeah, so we used to have Dr. Ishad as Dean of Medicine, but now he has left, so it's hard to get that updated.
Just reach out to Rashid. I would say don't reach out to Dr. Ishad or Khalid Gondal Saab. Reach out to Rashid. Rashid is very responsive for King Edward people. Reach out to him, talk to him, and he can help you out.
Yeah, so I just have one more question that can I mention the military background in my personal statement, like about my father, to, make it more personalized so I can talk about that in the interview? I just think it might be a negative thing because I'm trying to apply for residence in the US and the military thing is from Pakistan, like from another country. So would it be like a negative thing or can I use like in a positive way in my personal statement?
But so, I'm sorry, Paul, I didn't get the question. First part.
So my question was that I just want to personalize my personal statement by mentioning that my father was in military, and he taught me some principles and stuff like that. So I just want to know, could it be a negative thing because I'm applying for the residence in the US?
How you are relating military with medicine?
No, I'm just like you can say being adaptive because you have to move a lot when you're in the military and more like order and respect and stuff like that.
I think that's, I don't know.
I think
related to medicine, I'm not sure.
I wouldn't mention that because it's a privilege to be from like a military family, and there's nothing that they're gonna think about, oh, he's done something great because he moved with his father. That's not like being a lot of adaptability in there. It might create some questions in some people's mind. In general, I don't think it would help you that much. My father was in army as well. I never mentioned it in any of my interviews or any of in my LORs. So I would personally recommend you the same thing. There's a lot to talk about in medicine. Why do you have to go away from medicine to military? You can talk like they're from head to toe. You have like, there's so many things you can talk about. So.
And one thing, one other person can think it a negative way also, that you are trying to say if someone's father is not in military, he is not disciplined.
Yeah.
He might be actually more disciplined than one who has a relation to military. But I'm not being like, what I'm trying to say that try to, as Maruf Shara very well said, that try to mention what you have accomplished yourself, not your father has accomplished. I know what you are actually trying to say here, that because being a military family, if your father is in the army, you might be more disciplined. But it has least relationship to, in my eyes, to medicine. And it looks like an over expression, I would say. I think the appropriate word is over expression.
Yeah. Personally, like what I've seen in US grads too, they try to be very humble. Even if they are privileged, they don't carry themselves as being privileged. The one who carries himself as being privileged is frowned upon, to say the least. So if you're mentioning that you are from a military family in Pakistan, I strongly would not encourage you to do that. I would strongly, as a my personal advice to you, I would shy away from saying that, because I've never seen anyone here mentioning something about his father and family and his background and stuff like that. There's a lot you can mention about yourself, your medical school, your career, your training, your scores. You don't have to mention about our military, to say the least.
Okay, thank you for your feedback.
Next is Draksha Adam. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. All right, Draksha Adam. If next is Maz, you can ask your question, please.
Hello, hi. Thank you for taking my call. So my question was that for someone who is possibly not applying this year, would it be wise to get an ERAS token and have everything submitted on there? Because some of the LORs would be older, and having them all in one place. I know the token would expire. I would just have to pay the amount again for next year. But would it be wise to have a token, have everything in one place? That way, when the time does come, I won't be rushing around and having to do last minute stuff. So I just wanted an opinion on that. Thank you.
Like buying a token now, I didn't get the question, honestly.
Yeah, buying a token now and uploading all the things that I can right now. And then just, building it on for next year, basically. Because they do roll over, you just have to pay the fees again, but the portal stays the same.
I'm not sure. Next year means 2022 match?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure about that, because I don't know how, because if you go to the ERAS timeline, they have a break period. Once the time match results come and once the post-match scramble happens, there is, I think, a 2-month break when the ERAS takes a break, and then before the next cycle. I'm not sure.
So I did contact them, and what they said was that everything you upload will be there. It's just that whenever, like you mentioned, the break happens, but after the break, you just have to pay the 100 again, and all your profile still stays the same. So everything is already all in one place. Everything that I will upload or have uploaded.
If you think that your letters you will not be making any change in next 12 months, if you're not going to be getting any more letters, and you are happy with the current letters, then go ahead and do it. If you think that it might be overwhelming, then and if you just have to pay a fees, that's fine. But I honestly, we usually recommend doing that around the time of July. We recommend uploading letters, asking the writers to write letter and waive them around the time of July, August, September, because in my experience, 3 months are more than enough. We usually recommend them start writing their ERAS CV in July. Start writing their personal statement in July, because 3 months are more than enough to write and upload and all that. But if you think that might be overwhelming, then you might be stuck with something else and you are not going to make any more new letters. Yes, please go ahead.
Recently dated letters are better. I think we discussed that yesterday. Fresh letters are definitely better than old letters.
Some people ask this question a few times about the recent date. Just to clarify, so they can still be the same dates of your training or wherever you did your observership. The time of the letter will be fresh. So it will be a fresh letter. it will still state those dates like you were working in 2018 or 19. It will just be a fresh letter that someone uploaded for you. So just to clarify, because some people were asking this question. All right, and then like some have sent this message privately that they were working in Pakistan in some hospital and they would want to mention that. Would it affect positively or negatively? Any experience, especially experience in Pakistan, would always be a plus as long as you explain yourself and carry it in a positive way. For example, as we had explained, and I think Waqas explained, really summarized it, the way that you carry yourself. For example, let me reiterate it again. So you don't look down upon your training, you just explain it a way that, okay, we are resource limited, but we make up for those limitations by doing an exceptional job in history and physical exam. And I'm coming here to have training in how to utilize those resources in a cost-effective manner coming to US. That's the gist of it. You can explain it in a number of ways. But yes, training in Pakistan is always positive. Then the questions, I think Daksha had
Yeah, yes, sir. Can I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for all the panelists for giving this wonderful advices. So I have two questions basically. So my first thing, as Dr. Waqas talk about the technical stuff on ECFMG website. So I have been through that and the guidelines which they have given for the pathway 1, and they have given the preferred method, like if you request the authority to send a certificate or letter of good standing or / current professional status or equivalent documentation directly to ECFMG. So I just shared this slide or this screenshot on all the forums which I have been in those forums. So, and I also contact PMDC regarding that, the PMDC branch in Karachi. My father went there and I talked to the officer over there. So PMDC is like stuck to the fact that all the candidates need good standing certificate. But if I have read the guidelines, it is saying that authority send a certificate itself because my certificate is valid now, or current professional status or letter of good standing. So is there anything Apna committee can do to contact PMDC? Like, because 99% students are asking PMDC or PMC for good standing certificate. So I don't know if they have been gone through these guidelines or not. So is there anything or any way, because I just my license was expired, so I have to go for this for making it like valid now, and now again I have to submit the documents for good standing certificate. And the third thing is that my degree and my current status, like my husband name and father name, so I have to go for the third certificate, which is same name certificate from the PMDC. So it's like so much work. So is there anything Apna can do to reach PMDC or PMC regarding this? Like if they give us courtesy to send directly our degree or our license to ECFMG instead of going for the good certificate. So that's my concern.
Okay. You very intelligently noted the discrepancy here. I would be very realistic here. PMDC is right now going through disintegration.
Exactly.
I am 100%. I was in communication with one of the very high-ranked PMDC staff. I can't name him. They don't know these guidelines. They don't know all these pathways, which we took actually a week to go through. It took me a week to read all the ECFMG updates, and still I missed certain points, and then I had to go back and read them. PMDC has not read, and I am not very surprised if they are not read it. It is or one of the two. Either it is a goods training letter, or it is your PMDC registration, even it is expired, as long as you have held it after 2015. Now there are three ways: highly recommended, okay recommended, and last chance. But still it is available it is a liberty. ECFMG has said that they prefer you to go to PMDC and PMDC should upload one of the two letters to email to the ECFMG. If it is not possible, then the second option they have given you, the PMDC should give that letter to you, and you should be able to upload. And if that is not possible, then the third option they have given to you, that you just upload. Given all these things happened, this is so unfortunate that it right at that time it has happened. I would go for the third route, because it is still it is allowed. It's not something not allowed. If you have ECFMG, if you have a PMDC permanent registration, even it is expired. If you go to PMDC, you first have to activate it. You know that they would not give you a letter, and I was in fighting with them for this. When ECFMG has not asked an active license, why PMDC is going to ask you an active license to issue a letter of good standing? But it is in their constitution. If you read the constitution of the PMDC, it is written there. They cannot issue you a letter of good standing if your current status with PMDC is not active. So what you have to do, first activate and then go for it. It's a hassle. Just take a picture or a scan of your PMDC registration, upload it, send it to the email, and then send another email that PMDC is going through this, and I have used the third option as mentioned on this ECFMG update. Please, what they would do, they would reach out to PMC, which is PMC now, Pakistan Medical Commission. They would certify and ask for your activation and all. Meanwhile, once you do that, then I would say activate your license with PMC. Because what would happen when ECFMG would reach PMC, that this lady, is it certified with you? PMDC would have no idea what they are asking. They would say, no, she's not. Because they would call a clerk, open a file, your file will say expired. They say, oh yeah, she's not attached with us. They will not be descriptive, and it might be a hassle. So what you do, you first send the document and then activate the letter, and don't run after PMC for sending a good standing letter. You guys do not need a good standing letter if you have a copy of your PMDC registration, even if it is expired. Send it first, activate it later. I would do this route. You have only 2 months left. We are already in October, November, and December. You have 2.5 months left. I don't know how much Apna or anyone can help, because being very realistic, to think about the worst thing. So use the route which already has been allowed for you, and then activate your license in case ECFMG reaches out to PMDC to ask about your status, and they just carelessly should not say no. They should say, yeah, she's active. But ECFMG doesn't want PMDC. They preferably says, but they have given you 3 options. If it were a must, they would not have had mentioned the 2 other options. So I actually made a group 2 weeks ago for these kind of issues, a WhatsApp group, and there was a PMDC person in that group. But then PMDC was not disintegrated. That was before the time of the disintegration. And we were quite effectively moving forward with all these kind of things. We were getting the people early letters. That guy was helping every student individually with their good standing letters. We were uploading, and we were doing very good actually. We made a group called ECFMG PMDC group. It was a Facebook and a WhatsApp group. But somehow that constitution happened, PMDC disintegrated. Actually, they were locked for a week. So that group also got disintegrated. Because
so let me share you one more interesting thing which I talked to that clerk or that officer. So I told him that this is the guideline, and I told him like in our general language, so like with a very well mannered, the way we used to speak to the government officers. So he told me that if I don't know, behan or he just used the actual word which you use in government office. So मोहतरमा. So मोहतरमा आप जो है वो भेज देंगी, लेकिन जब वो हमसे दोबारा मांगेंगे तो आपको जो है वो वाउचर जमा कराना पड़ेगा जो 8,000 रुपए का है, जो गुड स्टैंडिंग के लिए होगा. So should I feel that they are here for taking money from us? Although 8,000 rupees is nothing, we have spent like thousands of dollars, but the timeline in this matter is very, very important for us. Yes. Like I'm a 2015 grad, and I had some red flag, like I have a CS attempt. So I want to be on time, you know, regarding my application and everything. So that's why I'm a bit more concerned. That's why I contacted, like I tried to contact Apna. So yeah, I can understand like disintegration and all that stuff. So I'm hoping for the best. But if you guys get to know anything regarding PMC stuff, or anyone who willingly agree to help the students which are going through all this, so please let us know on the forum. We are just, you know, crazy here to get help from you guys, literally.
No, I'm giving you a solution for what that clerk has
Yeah.
mentioned to you.
Yeah, so he just, so if he said like you, I have to fill that form again, like the 8,000 rupees wala, so don't you think it's gonna take 1 more or 2 more weeks for that to
No,
process?
I was very specific when I was answering this question.
Yeah.
I told you a two-step process.
Yeah,
It will take
because I just forgot to mention that I just submit my application for the license on July 17th, and still I haven't get my license for
Listen,
active
you
license.
just take a picture. First of all, active license is not a requirement per ECFMG, but it is a requirement per
Yes. Yes.
PMDC to get a letter of good standing. And you
Yeah.
do not need a letter of good standing. So first be very clear. You only have to have a PMDC registration, even if it is expired. Take a picture, upload it, and then email the case manager. Every case is being assigned to a case manager. Then what you do once you are done with this, then you do the second step. Second step is you go to the PMDC. Don't apply for a good standing letter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying activate. There are two different things. Applying for a good standing letter is a different thing. That's a different form. And just activating your expired status is a different thing. I'm talking about activation. Once you activate and then just wait, ECFMG will reach out to PMDC. They will not ask that please send us a good standing letter for Dr. Daraksha. They will say just double check us, verify us if this lady is ever had a license with you guys. They will say yeah, she has had, and that's it.
Yeah, because my license is in process now. It's in the activation process.
Even if they say, yes, she had a license in 2017, but currently she's expired, ECFMG should be satisfied. But I'm just going one step ahead. I'm just sensing the unprofessional and the ignorance of the PMDC. So I'm giving you two-step advice. Just do that. Don't run after a good standing letter. It's my generic advice to everyone who is dealing with Pathway 1 and who has an expired license. Please don't go for a good standing letter. You don't need good standing letter. You just need one of the two. So just upload it and then email the ECFMG, then activate your license and wait and watch.
Oh, okay, because I have temporary license, the PDF of temporary license, so I can upload it by now. And once they will contact the PMC, so they have the process of my active license, so probably that will work. This is like the summary, right?
Not temporary license, your expired permanent registration. Do you have an expired registration?
No, after house job, unfortunately, I just came here. I didn't bother myself to.
Your case is different. You should be very clear what you are asking us. You never had a permanent registration.
Yeah, no.
So then you should be very clear because you are confusing others. So your case is that you never ever had a permanent registration and you had a house job, and now once ECFMG asking you, so you first time applied a permanent registration, and definitely you need a permanent registration, and again you do not need a good standing letter. So just activate get your permanent registration. Once you get that permanent registration, take a picture, send it to ECFMG.
Okay, so I can do that, right? If once after the PMC will open.
You cannot take a picture of a temporary unsupervised because your temporary temporary license is a provisional license. And in the bottom of a provisional license, there is written with the red color, you cannot perform unsupervised. If you upload that letter to ECFMG, you are not Pathway 1 eligible, period. So I would not do that. I would wait. You still have 2 months left. Get your active permanent registration and then take a snap and send it to PC.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. I was really confused about the good standing, and everyone was like good standing.
I would share the article with Maruf and Tamur, and I would tell them to, inshallah, to upload.
Yes, because we are all active on the we are just following regularly the Young Physician Group Facebook page. So just let us know. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was wonderful to have talk with you. Thank you.
Sharamba, you're muted.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Dr. I think we have one last person. This is going to be the last question. I think we've exhausted all the questions. So Amna, you are the lucky last caller for today.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amna. So I actually joined through Facebook first, but I felt like Zoom is the better medium to join because I really wanted to ask a question. I really appreciate this talk. I was struggling with writing personal statement. There is so much different opinions about writing personal statement on forums. So first of all, everyone says start your personal statement with a story, grab attention. And even though I do have one or two stories related to family illnesses, whatever, but this is just not my personal style. I just want to write it like, straight. I tried, I could not write a story. I could not create a dramatic first paragraph. So, but everyone says you have to write it in the form of a story, not just, so I don't know about that. Like, can you please answer this first?
You can ask your second question also, please.
Okay. Secondly, for FCPS, I did 2 workshops. One was on communication skills and one was on research methods. Where should I mention that on my CV in ERAS?
Okay. So the second question, easy. Volunteer experience, you can, there's a section in ERAS, other accomplishments. You can mention your workshops, volunteer experience in that part. Question: if someone is telling you to write a story, you should not write a story. You should. This used to be a very catchy 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. It's no more catchy now. It's actually very what do they say? It's very common thing now, and people, everyone knows that someone died, and then I joined this, and then someone got cancer, and I was so touched, and this and that. I would be very clear, and I would be. There are 6,000 personal statements. Everyone is writing a story. I would be looking for something, not a story. Okay.
Okay.
So I would be very clear. I like this. I joined this. Like this. I'm not saying that bluntly, but at least avoid emotional. Don't be emotional. Don't be over sensational, or you are not writing. It is not a movie. You have to write in 5 paragraphs why you want. I can share the slides with them, and actually I would share a personal statement with them as well, the moderators, and but again, copy the configuration, not the composition. And please don't be stereotypical. These are stereotypical styles, and break these stereotypical things, because you don't have to be a story.
Yeah, okay, thank you, because I was really struggling with that. And secondly, just one more thing. So when I'm making a personal statement for internal medicine, can I express my interest in primary care and like more preventive medicine, or does it sound more like a family medicine personal statement?
If you're applying for an internal, listen, if you're applying for 2 specialties, medicine and peds, there would be difference, definitely. You can't write one personal statement for both. Because the difference would be in the paragraph number 4 and 5. Because I'm not sure how far you have seen this program, but this we showed slides, and we showed the paragraphs. Each paragraph has a purpose, and the difference, if you're applying university versus community, difference happens in the 5th paragraph. If you're applying medicine versus peds, difference happens in the 4th paragraph. These are very technical things, and 1, 2, 3 paragraphs remain the same, and every paragraph has a meaning. So yes, it has to be different, because you cannot explain in the same letter your statement for 2 different specialties.
No, I saw that site. Sorry, I should be more clear. Does expressing interest in primary care goes in, like, does it support your internal medicine personal statement?
I think there are certain programs which have 2 routes, medicine and primary care. So I would be just general, like again I said it, same personal statement. If you're saying I'm interested in internal medicine, and because the next, and in the next paragraph you have to tell what are your future goals. how you can say writing primary care and then future goal being hospitalist. So there might be some discrepancy. Just go write a different one. Like, and as I said, difference would be just in last two paragraphs. Just write a different person statement, and you have to write 2 or 3 person statement, and you have to very intelligently assign to the 3 list of the program.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Sharam Bhai, there was a very interesting question that I hope one of you can answer. What does President Trump intend to do? I think, jokes apart, I think that was in the context of J1. I don't think anyone can answer what Trump intends to do. But J1, I think you guys can comment better. From what I've heard, Apna advocacy has been amazing, and everybody who came here for residency this year during the pandemic was able to join on time, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so this was an interesting question. I was like purposely trying not to answer that question because right now things are kind of uncertain, to be honest. Right now, there are a lot of, presidential statements and things like that. So what happens is at times they put out a presidential statement regarding blocking the J1s or H1s, and then the exceptions come like a month or two later. For example, right now there was a recent problem with the J1s, but then they said, oh, we're gonna exclude the physicians who are on research or physicians who are going to be helping with COVID and things like that. But the problem happens if you're applying at the time when there was a presidential statement prohibiting H1, J1s or H1s or whatever you are on, till the time that the exception came in, then it becomes a problem. But generally the exceptions to the rules come within 1 or 2 months and things kind of work out. This time, some of the candidates were delayed, and Apna did help out with whatever we could with advocacy, with ECFMG, and most of them were able to join. Some of them were late, but we are hopeful this year things may be even better. So at this point, I don't think there's anything preventing candidates to come to US on a J1 or H1 visa as it stands for now. Of course, we cannot predict the future. All right. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Abdur Rahman, Waqas, Asad Bhai, all of you. Your talks were great, informative, and these talks are going to be on Facebook so people can watch it later as well. Again, thank you so much. I think it's really late now. It's 1:15 here in Chicago, and I'm sure it's very late for you as well. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abdur Rahman. Very nice meeting you, Abdur Rahman. Very nice talk.
Same here, guys. Thank you so much for your time. And I commend you in the East Coast, like it's 1:15 exactly.
Yeah. In Ohio, it is 1:15. Yeah, okay. Take care. Bye.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Waqas.